Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at another Devblog for the next major update, and this time it is for a premium pre-order, the Tornado IDS WTD 61. This is a German tornado that is coming in at rank 7, meaning that you can fully and efficiently grind the German tech tree. And basically, if you miss the event, which had access to the Tornado IDS, then I suppose you can pick this up because it will give you an incredibly similar experience, but with obviously premium bonuses and not having to grind out the vehicle. If you want to pick it up, make sure to use my partner code in the description to give yourself a discount on it, and also at the same time you can support the channel, which is quite good. It does have some pre-order bonuses, the Ferocious title, also the Knack Trap decal, and a unique prototype camouflage, which is quite cool too. So the Tornado IDS is a multi-role fighter bomber. Basically in War Thunder, it's going to be used to bomb bases and realistic, and then every so often kind of used in ground to be able to drop some bombs on people. The vehicle does have access to some quite nice ground ordnance in the form of 12 Mark 83 bombs, and also 12 Mark 83 air-to-ground assault bombs. So basically it has the good old drag bombs, which can turn up. The vehicle also has CCIP, so being able to actually drop them effectively is quite easy to do with it, and on top of this, it does have some AIM-9Ls, meaning that after you drop your bombs, or even before, if you are dealing with head-ons or moving around from the place, you can get some missiles off. One of the interesting things about the Tornado Marineflieger, which is the event version, which is basically the same as this one, apart from it gets access to the anti-ship missiles. The interesting thing about it is when it came into the game, it was actually pretty powerful because you could do this combo. You were one of the fastest jets at your BR, you had access to countermeasures, just like this one does, and you would drop the bombs on bases, and then you would dogfight in kind of a support role with everybody around you. And since you had the kind of way of surviving through the countermeasures, and then also access to 2 AIM-9Ls, which is always a nice combo, you could usually pick up 1 or 2 kills, plus also being able to hit the base. Nowadays, since it got raised in BR, not exactly the same. Obviously now it goes up against stiffer competition, and at the same time there are just more vehicles which have been added to the game which do this kind of role similar to the Tornado in the form of strike aircraft. It does have a twin-barreled 27mm though, so you do have the Mauser in it, which is quite good. High fire rates, 360 rounds in it as well. And also, it does have more external fuel tanks if you want to bring it, just like all of the other Tornadoes, so therefore you can move it around. Let's be honest, this premium is pretty boring. It's basically just the same as an event vehicle with slightly less features. Is it going to be a good grinder though? That's really the question you kind of have to ask yourself on a vehicle like this, and is it worth getting for what is to be ground out? The vehicle is at rank 7, so at rank 7 it's always going to be useful. There is a massive stiff competition at the moment in jets to be able to bomb bases because it's seen as an easy way of grinding out RP compared to actually, doing the air-to-air dogfight stuff. And since this thing is an echelon below the top tier of the game, you will end up being in that kind of rat race between your teammates to try and get bases. And then if you are able to, the 2 AIM-9Ls plus the countermeasures can kind of help out and, do some extra stuff. When I played similar vehicles, like the Su-22s, for example, it was an absolute nightmare trying to survive, but this Tornado usually is in a much better place than those, just because of its flight characteristics, and also the fact that it's not massively over BR'd because of its general, doesn't have an insane amount of air-to-air ordnance, only 2 AIM-9Ls compared to many other vehicles. So, see it more as kind of like a high-tier A10 is probably the way to put it. And being able right now to get the MiG-29G, it might not be worth it. But when you think about Germany and what they have to expand into the game, especially in aviation, there is a decent amount of stuff that is around the corner. We're into the 90s now with the Germans, and early 2000s or even mid 2000s, there's a ton of pretty cool vehicles that they can bring along and add for this vehicle to grab onto. And also, being useful in ground is nice too. I would hope that they would add more of an air-to-air vehicle, just because when you have a look at all of the other nations, the big banger premiums that they have at the high tiers are air superiority fighters, whereas this obviously isn't, but I suppose it really just depends on what is available for the country when it kind of came around. I'm hoping that in the future this is not just the only premium that Germany is going to get, otherwise I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who are disappointed because of the simple fact that it's quite boring, it's quite dull. Even though it has a nice camouflage on it, doesn't mean that it's, that interesting to play. The Tornado is very much what I like to class as a scripted aircraft. You do the same thing over and over and over again on the same maps, and if you try and do anything else, then you are going to run into quite a lot of trouble. You can't use this as an air superiority fighter. You first of all don't have enough ordnance, and you fly like a brick compared to all of the other air superiority fighters. You can use it as a support fighter, but once again, you got 2 missiles and that's it, compared to other vehicles that can have up to 6 around this BR of very similar capability. If you use it just as a bomber, then you might be able to hit some bases or hit some ground targets, but then once going back to base, you'll be chased down and annihilated, meaning that you are forced to dogfight at the end of the day, since it's not fast enough to be able to get away from everything around it. So you have this hybrid role, but it's the only role that you have. Usually when vehicles are hybrid, you can use them in a multi-role way, but this one is just not that. It's instead just playing the same way over and over and over again. And that will be good for some people, because they'll just want to grind out the tech tree, and using this to do that, you can do it pretty effectively. But for people who actually want to experience more in the game, and also experience what I suppose more of the standard fighting is in War Thunder, this would not be it. The fact that you have stuff like the F5C around a lower BR, you also have stuff like the MiG-23, and many others, even the Lazur M, or even the standard MiG-21s that are about the place. The German premiums for aviation always seem to be at a lower ebb compared to compared to other nations' premiums, which kind of sucks. And I, to be honest, wish that this vehicle went to Britain. I think it would have fit a lot better in the general playstyle of Britain, and then also at the same time, it would have been a nice CAS element for ground, where you're pretty much limited to the Jaguars. As always though, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Juan the Panda, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Bareen, Peter Grayling, Alan Hacker, Sem Alslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R., and also Lafouche for supporting the channel.